All right, we are back here for round two. The attacking Russians are now playing as defending Americans, and we're going to be following them as they prepare the defense of the castle and, of course, the Russian lodge located here in the center of the city.
Yeah, this is Operation Rook. If you're joining us for round two, the Russians are trying to take the castle, and if they do manage to secure that lodge that Diplex pointed out, they will be able to set up mortars to assist them in their attack. U.S. on the other side will get two lodges to resupply their castle and build up the fences.
Two things I want to keep an eye on here for the start is one, will the U.S. team lose their lodges as fast as the U.S. team did the previous round? And two, will they be able to deny the Russian lodge capture? Because both were tremendously impactful on the round. Although the U.S. still won, despite the fact that they failed to do both. They lost their lodges and they failed in destroying the Russian lodge, but they still won. So if they do that now, will it be an even easier win for the U.S. team this time around? We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be pretty exciting to see how round two plays out, especially after seeing the results of round one and seeing how much power U.S. had while spreading out their troops on different sides. That active defense really helping U.S. Setting up that protection on their west and north flanks, cutting off almost every approach that Russia could have taken and bottling them up at the south. We saw Russians lose a lot of aggression and momentum once they hit that south wall, and as such, they just suffered for it.
Before we tune into the U.S. Army briefing, let me hear your predictions. What's going to happen in this game? What's going to be the start play for the Russians and Americans, and how's it going to end out? What do you think?
Well, I think for one, U.S. is going to be 100,000 times more careful with their logistical trucks, just because they saw first round how easily those were destroyed, and really that can make the difference between a win and a loss. Having that amount of supplies, an unlimited amount of resupply to build as much as they need, have mortars, have HMGs, Hesco walls, bunkers, and so on and so forth. That can really bolster the defense. I think they also are aware a lot more of the surrounding territory and how they should defend. For example, if they do attack from the south, they've learned from experience that those western buildings are pretty crucial. As far as Russia, we'll see how well Russia gets to use those mortars. I saw there was a lot of miscommunication with the mortars in round one. But if Russia's able to use those mortars in cohesion with their assault at the right timings, with the right intensity, they can really gain a lot of suppressive fire and fire superiority on the castle itself.
I agree. I'm scouting out some locations that would be suitable for the U.S. defense of the lodge. The former team's positions weren't bad. They did get one shot off at the Russian lodge, but it did make it out. And it was a pretty good shot from the top floor window there of the building that's got the corner facing the gas station. But it'd be interesting to see someone doing something unexpected. Like, what if you're hidden in a bush in between the sort of street barrier? Do you see them? It's an unexpected situation, because before the Russians capture the lodge to drive it away, they're gonna establish a perimeter that covers at least like 240 degrees of the area, so to speak. They might not have the northern side fully cleared, but they're gonna make sure that the building that is closest to the gas station to the southeast is gonna be clear, and they're gonna clear the perimeter of the gas station. But there are some fairly suitable locations where you could pop out with an AT and just drop the lodge at close. But of course, you're pretty much signing up for a suicide mission. You're gonna have 40 guns aiming at you.
Yeah, in round one, round one, we especially saw U.S. was able to scout out and actually see those AT soldiers before they engaged. So it's going to come down to how well these soldiers can place themselves in the buildings or surrounding environment and engage that lodge once it gets occupied. But yeah, going back to the castle and looking at that key terrain, once again, looking at the north and the south, the castle itself is already naturally defensible with those moats on the south and west, as well as that long road on the north, creating natural divisions. A lot of high ground and a lot of buildings on the surrounding for secondary defensive points. So it's going to be interesting to see how Russia decides to take the assault this round.
Do you think the U.S. team defending this time around will be taking note of what they did wrong in their assault as the Russians the previous round? Do you think they might
Ryan, do
be
you want
looking
both mortars
to
running, or can I
defend
just
more
run
of the
one?
southern perimeter?
You can run
Perhaps
one.
use
I don't
different
count me
buildings than
both.
the U.S. team did in
I'm
the
down.
last round?
I think it's actually pretty interesting because the U.S. lost their Logi early on, it meant that they could not hold the castle with the majority of their troops and forced them into an active defense, utilizing the natural defensive structures around the castle. It's interesting to see if U.S. gets those Logis resupplied multiple times this round if they choose a more passive defense because they'll have more defensible structures within the compound. So I think from the very beginning of this operation, depending on lodges on the U.S. and lodges on the Russian, whether they survive or not, will set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I suppose you could leave a castle fairly undefended if you have the perimeter set. As soon as one of the squads around the castle makes contact, the other squads can scramble to either set up a more adjacent defense or to get into the castle itself.
Exactly.
We saw a pretty
Yeah.
empty castle at a start, but towards the end there, it was really swarming with troops. But then, as you were just pointing it out, if they can get more barriers up, if more sandbags, more defenses, barbed wire, more guns, those MTLBs aren't gonna do much from outside the castle. They're gonna have to get in, which puts them at risk to enemy or to American AT infantry. The only issue of putting so many troops inside the castle area and putting a lot of people behind sandbags and stuff is if the Russians do get away with that Logi, if you've got a better mortar crew on the Russian team this time around, they're going to do more damage than the Russian team did previously. So that might be a bad thing to put all your troops in a zone where mortars are going to be dropping it relentlessly, nonstop.
Exactly. Yeah,
Well,
so I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the plans differ if they do at all. And then that Logis,
Hey,
like I
Jack,
said
here's a
before,
video
like the
getting
first
this
10
lodge.
minutes
Should
of
we
this
go kill
game,
their fob, or
set
should
a
we just,
lot of
like,
Yes,
disgrace?
that's what you're gonna be doing. That's what
pacing
you're doing. Don't worry.
I
the
agree.
game.
I'm going to be honest with you, too. The last round was one of the better rounds I've ever experienced in Squad Ops. This is Operation Rook, and I'd be impressed if the action this time around tops it. I don't doubt
Yeah.
that even if it doesn't, it'll still be fantastic, but
Come
there
in.
were some pretty memorable moments
come here,
in the last, and we were lucky to catch them all on camera. There was really nothing going on outside of our
I'm
view,
on the far
at least not
side.
mine
Oh,
as far as
yeah.
I'm concerned. So
There's
Can we get
always something going on
ladders to
somewhere
get to
once the
these
action
roofs?
starts. There's a
Yes, we
huge
can.
platoon
We're doing
push by
once.
Russia. You could see they were
Like,
very adamant in
can
using
we
those
have can I have an
MTLVs to get
OP
fire
over there?
superiority and push.
Yes,
But
you can.
US just had
Yes,
really
you
good
can.
positioning on that attack, was able to stop that left push, the right push, and the south push, and really just slow down the Russian assault to a grind. But we're going to see if they're able to replicate that right now, or if Russia's going to have a lot more success, like as you said before, with a better mortar team and mortar coordination, or if US is going to be able to stop them again with superior positioning.
interesting though how the Russians did get a lot of manpower to the walls before entering. They didn't really take any substantial amount of casualties outside during the approach. The U.S. flanking squad to the west that came down through the buildings or the sort of city block on the left side of the castle, they had a good flank on the Russians and they forced them to deploy. I thought it was like 12 or 13 smoke grenades, but once again, when it all cleared, minutes later, it hadn't had any real effect on the Russian assault. They still got 2-3 full squads to the wall, and then they gave it away to the Americans. One or two squads, as soon as the MTLB went down, they stopped. When chain of command dies, you'd expect people to maybe take the initiative, but honestly, I think a lot of people are concerned about their own well-being during the game, and I'd understand that. Of course, you want to be combat active for as long as possible, helping the team. But while you try and remain combat active, you are at the same time being very combat inactive because you're locking yourself down. You're not doing anything to the team by sitting still. So I wish
Exactly.
I wish we'd seen more Russians storm through that. We had one guy in that one of the center barns with the collapsed roof and the collapsed wall. He was in there and he died in there. The rest of the team could easily have made progress around the wall, thrown more grenades and used that because the 50 was out. They had abandoned it and too many died outside the wall, to be honest. Not to mention the assault on the right side, though, which was stopped by the U.S. northern coverage, that bunker that you spoke
Yeah,
about a lot
that
last round.
bunker was able to lock down the entire eastern approach. And like you said before, like those smoke grenades from that western when they got engaged on by the squad in the apartment buildings. That was the proper move. Good amount of smoke coverage, and they managed to get to that south wall without taking too many casualties. The second thing to note is the
Event admins were ready.
completely lost my train of thought.
That's fine.
Leadership, right?
Yeah.
The initiative and momentum.
Right,
Squad is
Shadow
one of those
and, Stormfront,
only
put your guys in
games
defensive
where
positions,
you can really
please.
see leadership shine, especially when you lose it. You start to realize how
Then-
much momentum and
you start
initiative
missing
you
it.
lose.
Then it becomes more apparent that it's gone than it was
Yeah.
there before. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're waiting for the U.S. to. They're starting to gather up here for the brief. So in the last round, be sure to watch that if you've missed it. We followed the Russians today. Where in this round we're following the Americans, the defenders. So the brief is going to be different, but it's going to be interesting to get an idea of the U.S. plan before it plays out. So let's tune in, and I suppose we'll catch everyone after the brief.
Hey, are you guys doing a platoon brief?
Negative.
Oh, okay. All right, they're not doing a brief.
Okay.
You want me to? I can.
No, I mean, if you have time, I don't know. When are you live?
They didn't give us a live time yet.
It'd be
Okay,
sick
then
for the
might as well
for the
just do it.
video.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it.
Cool.
Alright, call your guys. Bring your guys over to the top castle, upper castle. We'll do a platoon brief.
Right.
When you're famous, they just let you do it. You can do anything.
Oh,
You just grab them right.
Make your lines. Get professional.
Organized, goddammit.
Behind me, I guess. I don't know.
All right, give me comms. Give me comms.
Bravo, what is this?
Everyone, hold comms. Hold comms. Hold comms. All right, good job
Everyone
last
behind
round.
Bravo.
Everyone, hold comms, guys, please. Everyone did a really good job. We did the first part of the mission. We successfully exfilled the Logi. It fell apart a little bit towards the end. We lost our momentum, but that goes with learning. Very proud of every single person. Now we're going to do the same thing to them this time as the U.S. The way we're going to do this is we're going to have Shadow Squad holding Upper Castle, Stormfront holding Lower Castle, and we're going to push Tedish Squad to North Village. They're going to act as a QRF depending on where we get hit, and they're going to hold our flank. Pony is going to take his squad, and they're going to be using the Logis to transport them to north of Bravo, near the gas station, and they're going to try and blow up the enemy armor or logistics truck over there. We're going to get 3 HMGs looking to the south, to the west, and we're going to have 1 HMG north. We're going to get 1 mortar up. We're going to start mortaring them as they try and push up. We're going to get in cover. If they get their mortar up, guys, make sure you have overhead cover. I don't want to see a lot of people running around in the open like this. That's easy bait for them, okay? Alright, does anyone have any questions? Alright, Tedish and his squad, make sure you guys hold our north flank. If you guys get hit, I want you pulling back to Alamo. Stormfront, hold lower. Shadow, hold upper. Let's have a good round, everybody.
And that's the U.S. briefing. So a pretty straightforward plan. They're going to have 1 squad
Tony,
holding
you ready,
upper,
buddy?
and they're going to have 1 holding lower. The rest is going to be, I suppose, either to the north or back by the, well, essentially the other 25% is the Logi squad, and they're already outside the perimeter and far away.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how effectively Jack can use that QRF that he has planned north of Village. If he's able to get that to really maneuver around in time, he can really delay whatever side Russia decides to attack with a secondary position.
If they come around the eastern side of the castle, like many Russians did previously, they're going to run into a heap of trouble. Because, once again, you're very exposed, and there's a bunker and lots of good rocks to cover behind for the Americans covering the northern side there of the castle. So a pretty standard layout. So far, it seems pretty similar. The difference here is that last round, the team who are now playing the Russian attackers, when they played as the U.S., they had 1 squad in the castle covering both lower and upper, and they had 2 squads outside, both covering to the west.
Your whole
One in
objective,
the
squad, is just
apartment
holding
area
this
that's
section
to the
pretty much,
direct
and
west
having
of
one
the
guy
castle,
watching the
and
drawbridge,
one in the
right?
kind of spread out north of the
Copy that.
roundabout, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they had great active defense around the castle. They were spread out. And I think, well, like I said before, that's due to the fact that there weren't many defensible positions within the castle because of their Logi resupply was cut off.
More close defense now. They're going to rely on a tighter defense. Interesting. It's a different choice. We'll see if it works out for them. Obviously, the former choice for the now Russian team worked out for them when they were playing as the Americans. So maybe the change of tactics it'll get them an even more secure victory, or it'll end up in a defeat.
All right, live in 30 seconds. Let's
Live
get
in
ready,
30.
boys.
Yep, 30 seconds here, and both teams will start moving out.
Karma.
And it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
I've noticed that the Logi squad is bigger. We're looking at 7 people in the vehicles and 3 soldiers outside the base.
That's a pretty big squad that they're going to try to commit to stopping the Lodgies from getting destroyed. We'll probably see a larger firefight at the gas station this time than previously. And we'll see if they're actually able to inflict any damage or if that Logi will get by unscathed again.
Interesting indeed. Yeah, I reckon they're gonna try and deny they failed denying, or the Americans in the past round failed denying the Russians their Logi truck. They didn't really try. I mean, they did get one good AT shot on the truck, but if you look at it logistically and theoretically, that's not an attempt leaving 4 soldiers behind. That's a very half-assed attempt at actually caring about it. So this time around, they're gonna drop. Well, they're going to drop like 7 people. Or even more. Look at that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 getting out there. And they have another 3 moving down the street. So I'd say a whole squad is going to be holding the... Actually, correction. That's a 9-man squad holding the entire perimeter near the Russian Logi in the gas station.
Yeah, that is a full squad here. So they're definitely, look at that, they're taking up different corners as well.
Put it at bunker there,
So
it has more
they're
cover.
going to be able to cause a lot of damage here. And the Russian column now coming down that MSR, they're only about 2 minutes away. You can see both MTLBs that they have as well as the transport. And we'll see how close they get before they want to dismount.
Alright, it's up to you then.
And here come the Russians.
They're choosing a different approach this time around. They're going more straight for it. Interesting MTLB driving.
Drift. Drift is a little too strong.
They're not spreading them out. They're actually going in a column here, because the last round we saw the Russians take one really far west and then head north to flank around to the base. Oh, but this is interesting. If they actually send all their forces to the west and then north, they're going to be able to attack with full force from the west. Why would you do that? That's going to mean that you're going to have to clear more houses, essentially. You're just putting more houses in between you and your primary objective. It's,
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting decision by Russia right here to send the entire platoon westbound. I think he does plan on cutting off the enemy resupply here pretty soon. He is continuing. I mean, I thought he would have dismounted by here, but it looks like they're going to continue.
Get that
They
Logi
will see this
truck.
Logi.
But the Americans this time around are...
No.
Oh, what the...
Oh, that's main protection right there, because the,
Oh, they're not going to catch it.
they might be able to sweep around the side here, but the bubble of main protection is pretty close to this spot. Russians trying to, get into maneuver to,
Sneaky Russians.
to attack the, Logis. And here we go, here are the first dismounts.
Well, it's obvious that it has a huge impact on the game, but you know, denying the enemy supplies. So they're making it their top priority. Can't blame them. That's a swarm of Russian troops on the ground right now, spreading out.
I mean, this MTLB kind of just drove past this Logi right here. I don't know if they... Wait a minute.
He's... this is turning into a bit of a hostage situation. They've... Yeah.
They almost didn't see the Logi there because he was in the tree. He was hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
That is too funny. They almost did not see the Logi.
I
One of
think-
the Russians just decides, hey, this doesn't look right.
I think, actually, correction, I do think they saw the Logi. I just don't think they saw the driver, and they were like, where's the driver? Because he was hidden inside the tree.
That's too funny.
Oh.
Alright, well, it looks like the entire Russian platoon is going to be setting up here on the northwest and proceeding eastbound. Like you said before, though, this really makes them have to clear a ton of buildings in between them and their objective. You can see the castle down there, down the MSR quite a
Yeah,
ways,
they're
maybe
saying,
about
no
600
more lodge
meters.
runs. I got one lodge down.
I'm gonna go ahead and just, for the record, say I think this tactic is a tiny bit gamey, so to speak, because essentially you're making it near impossible for the Americans to actually safely get that one Logi that survived back. I wonder why the second Logi just parked into the tree. He could have driven around the base safely. He was almost there, but instead he chose to drive left. Interesting indeed. Honestly, why not? It spices things up a little bit. And hey, by now, at least the American team is ahead of the former American team because they still have one Logi
Stick to
alive.
I've got
So,
one MG up plus mortars.
well, the Russians are fast to act. They've already spread their platoon. They seem very, very organized, and they seem to know what they're doing. They've got 2 shooters in a building covering the gas station from far.
I think that other Logi is stuck. Oh, no, maybe not. I think he's just waiting. I think he can actually hear the MTLPs, and he's waiting for a
Well, he's loaded up.
better time to
You know
push
what he
out.
could do,
He can
Carm?
go north around that dirt road right there.
He could go far south. Just
He could also
ram it
go far
south.
south.
Yeah,
that
and
is
just go
very
around.
true. Russians now pushing in.
1 times enemy entry eliminated.
MTLB looking
Russian getting
around.
First casualty here.
Or rather,
Oh, it's going south, Carm.
Is it leaving? Oh, it's going south. Look
Ooh.
at that. It's going all the way around.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're gonna jump back to the fight near the gas station now, as Russian troops are approaching in the open. Interesting choice of cover there, going for the competing company gas station there across the road, Lucre Oil, which is completely irrelevant. But anyway, back to the fight.
Shots going out on the south end here. And Russia's going to have to do a really good job of clearing all these buildings.
I think so.
I think this is where panic strikes the Russians a bit. They've already taken 2 casualties. Once again, they're approaching it from the open, so to speak. They're not really occupying any buildings themselves, and they have no idea how many American soldiers there are in the area or where they're at. They could be anywhere. And this is what I was saying before about approaching from the west, where you have more buildings to clear. It doesn't make sense tactically, but we'll have to see if it works out for them.
And Russia's hemorrhaging troops trying to breach these buildings.
We're going to see some indoor fighting in the southern side of the target area. Grenades being thrown into the windows. None are efficient enough to kill any of the inhabitants.
Russia trying to get aggressive here, clearing these buildings.
So it's going to be opening up from one of the opposite buildings of the street, and he's going to knock down 2 more Russian soldiers. We're looking at 4 or 5 casualties already on the Russian side. Actually, scratch that. We're looking at more. I see half a dozen dead on the southern side of the city, and that ballin'-ass Logi truck back there is going to be riding and tooting it back to base with all the supplies. Can you just tell
a
how
lot
happy
of
he
building
is to
clearing
get back?
going on right now.
Man, we gotta watch this north entrance also.
And one Logi is
Russia's
going to...
really taking it room by room at this point.
They're trying to
I know,
sneak it
but-
Those
out.
southern troops getting caught in the
not
open.
bad,
They are
bad idea.
trading, but it's not good trades at all. We're at 7-3 here.
Alright, you can throw
So
it down there.
2 times the casualties for the Russians, and they're still trying to clear these buildings out. They will manage to do so.
No, we got one more American there. He's about to be grenaded, though. Oh,
Keep running
good
on it.
maneuvering.
Oh my God, this U.S. soldier.
We're making this
You
hay.
seeing what I'm seeing here, Carm? The indoor fighting
The
there.
Logi's there.
3
Yeah.
Russians dead. What an
Yeah, still
insane move there.
Oh, and he finally goes down.
I can hear it in your voice, Carm. You sound almost a little
it's-
sad. It's sad to see the Russian assault.
These trades are
Yeah.
going very poorly for Russia.
I can tell that it's affecting you. I mean, of course, we'd want to see the Russian team do as good as possible at a start here, given the American advantage in the game. But they've been
They
playing
are
a
going to get the
clean
Logi
game.
though, and both lats missed, so they have completed that objective.
That's good. Both lats missed.
Yeah,
One hit on
small win right here for Russia, and it's what they need. If they had lost the Logi as well, it would have been pretty pretty devastating.
Pony, whoever's left of them, pull out and then go hunt it.
It's hard to tell casualties right now, but too many. I gotta call it right now. I think that the Russians have been losing too many this early on. They haven't even gotten to the castle yet. The Americans have gotten one supply run back to the castle from the base, so that's gonna all look at the castle, Carm. You're seeing sandbags everywhere. You've got more HMGs. You've got barbed wire. This is something, and of course a U.S. mortar this time around, which they did not have last round.
Yeah, U.S. is going to be in a much better position than previously. Russia's starting off a little weaker now. It's going to come down to mortar play and how effective both teams' mortars are. This early route decision by these squad leaders to take this trans truck here was just extremely poor. Multiple squads caught in the open. The cover choice was not optimal, and the breaching did not go as successfully as it needed to have gone. So Russia really now sparing on the back leg. It's going to come down to how well Russia uses their mortars and how poorly U.S. uses theirs.
Indeed, and also we can't forget about the MTLBs. They did minimal damage last round. Perhaps the Russians can use the MTLBs more aggressively and do more, and inflict more casualties to the U.S. team this time around than the MTLB did last round.
Yeah, what's interesting to note is that on this push for the Logi in the center, there was almost zero armor support during that push. They did not utilize that armor to help them clear these buildings, which I think was kind of necessary. As you can see, the amount of damage that U.S. caused, and Russia did not have the ability to clear certain buildings because of the crossfire that they had. That might have been able to be
You have a vehicle near you?
negated with the armor assets, but
I think it's the MTLB.
at this point we will never know.
Yeah, I can't hear
I think also this is not so much of a Russian blunder. You have to almost credit the Americans for this because they simply put so many more men here. They had a bigger area to cover, or they could cover more angles. In the last round, when we had Americans focused up on the northern side, they couldn't do any damage to the south. Really, they were only really looking to do to catch the Logi off guard to get a hit on it. But this time around, in comparison to the last round, the Russians could approach the south safely. Here you have 9 guys, a whole U.S. squad posted up all around the gas station. So that's pretty much what made the difference here. I think it's the amount of U.S. troops in the area.
Save 250 on start drawing mortars on that, but save 250 on supply shadow.
But we're entering the second phase of the battle, and do you see that Logi truck back there in the distance? That U.S. truck. It is making
he's using that far west expanse. These Logis are actually going to run into each other here.
What? A U.S. one or a Russian?
The U.S. one and the Russian one are headed down the same road.
Wait a minute, but the Russian's heading left, isn't he?
Seems like the Russians are back from the gas station.
Okay. Oh wait, he's slowing down. Oh, I wonder if we could see a pursuit here.
Oh my
pursuit.
god. The Logis are right next to the U.S. Logis like, nope. And he goes the opposite way.
Yes, please do.
Standing by for grid, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, grid currently tracked vehicles last spotted Delta 238.
That's too funny.
I'm
I'm not quite sure what Russia's doing right now. They're kind of just wasting time over here on the west. I don't know. No, command is still up. There's just not a lot of movement right now for the Russians.
Things they're slowing it down, and surprise, the U.S. are still holding the gas station. They have 3 soldiers there. They've backed another 3 from the northern side off, as you can tell, and you can tell that they're moving up to the northeast there. They've located themselves in a building that I don't ever think will see action, but well, they're expanding their combat with to prevent the Russians from going or taking the far northern approach.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Russians now finally mounting up. They're going to reposition. Let's go take a look at the actual building emplacements and defensive structures that U.S. has employed.
I can't be too far. That's well within 1,500 meters.
Copy, stand by. Let me make sure you're good.
And yeah, this Logi continually making
keep
runs.
running Logi till they die.
Yeah, we see
only need one
significantly
Logi running,
more
the second guy
defenses here
second
than
guy
before.
Come play defense.
However, this can
Second
all
guy-
get negated with the mortars. If
Oh, okay,
Russian
copy.
mortars are on target, they can destroy a lot of these defenses.
Yeah, and once again, I think the Russians have a rough estimate of where the American mortar will be. As where the Americans have no idea where to send their first rounds. So that's also a Russian advantage. We'll have to hope that the Russians do some good, put some good rounds on target here to even things out. Because right now, attacking with the manpower they have at their availability is tricky. It'll be challenging to do sufficient damage here.
Yeah, mortars have been placed down for. Oh, what was that? A lat shot on the north.
Yeah, the transport truck. Ooh, look at that. Russian transport truck taking fire. And the MTLB has been hit as well. It's smoking and burning.
Oh, that MTLB goes down with almost a full squad. No, I think it was just a two-man team right there. That second MTLB, however, has a lot of troops inside of it. But that first MTLB did absorb a lot of the rounds.
So we've got the second MTLB and one Russian infantry squad dismounted by the transport truck further down the road. There were 2 American scouts up on the high ground, but they decided to pull back. They could hear the truck stopping. So the entire American team knows where the attack is going to be coming from right now. And I think we can start seeing some American rounds be put on target now, if they're communicating correctly and efficiently.
Yeah, Russians not in a good shape at all. They're at 50% strength about before they even begin their assault. I don't see this going well at all. I think the initial strategy was really botched by some poor maneuvering choices, but we'll see if they're able to bring it back. We could have a very surprising game on our hands, but right now, Russians are really under strength, and they're attacking from a place that has U.S. infantry already embedded. So there's going to be quite a road before Russia's even gets to the castle still. And U.S. now has mortars as well. So
yeah.
This is going to be quite a brutal assault for the Russians. They are getting their platoon line set. So we'll be seeing them move here in a moment.
Look at the open ground they have to cross too. And we have an American soldier there on the high ground. He's already spotting all the Russian movement. Is that a saw? That is indeed an M249. So he's getting in position. He sees the entire... No, he's missing the entire Russian squad moving to the right side. He's got them. He's got them in the open. Is he going to engage? Is he going to let the Russians open up first? That's madness. Oh, he's going to botch it, and he's going to go down. I think he screwed up big there, to be honest. No offense to the player, but...
He has pinned that entire squad. So these mortars might... If US get these mortars ranged for this north...
Rounds incoming.
Up there with you, Pony.
I would have just
the mortars. Yeah, those mortars are hitting the U.S. now.
I would have just wished to see that guy pull off a pretty substantial play there with the M249. A whole Russian squad in the open. If you're deployed like that, laying down, and they're out of cover, you're gonna drop the whole squad in a matter of seconds. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I think he was perhaps trying to get to a better position or miscalculated the vision the Russians had of his own location.
Yeah, Russian forces really spread thin. They're gonna try to mortar the town, or the castle itself, but so long as U.S. stays inside, they should be pretty safe. And we are seeing U.S. now pull their defense in. They have harassing elements on the left flank as well. This is going to be really hard for Russia to deal with because they have 2 infantry squads in between them and the castle.
Yeah,
and they have a lot of open ground across.
Yeah, they've got one to the north there by the village that is nicely spread out. The Russians are staying very closely together, but they do have MTLB support. Any American caught out in the open is going to be... Oh, is that it? Is that a law? Oh, it missed. Oh, and the second one did as well. That's got to be the luckiest.
Russians are going to need all the luck they can get.
Yeah, I was about to say that was the luckiest MTLB I've seen to dodge 2 rockets at that range in the open. That doesn't happen often.
Mortars, F395, F395.
Ooh, look at those Russian rounds on target, though.
I think they actually managed to kill a U.S. soldier here. No, he's just prone.
Yeah, I thought I saw 3 casualties, too. I couldn't believe my eyes. Oh, we're seeing some rounds now from the rooftop of the castle being put on the Russians attacking. You know, the Russians, I think it's unfair to rule them out already because, honestly, like, with the right use of their MTLB and mortar, of course, which are still, by the way, dropping and suppressing the Americans, they can definitely tighten the race. They can definitely catch up.
Yeah, this U.S. squad, however, coming in on the flank of the Russians. Russians completely unaware. They're just hemorrhaging troops. There seems to be some kind of
Are they unaware though?
unit
Carm?
cohesion issues right here. I'm sorry?
Are they unaware?
I believe they are. They
Oh, yeah.
continue pushing southbound. No one's watching that north security. These two elements need to be working together. There's still about 300 meters in between both Russian elements here,
Mortars
and
out now.
they need to be working together to maximize their effectiveness. And they're lagging behind on the south,
Yeah.
as well as not watching their north. So this could be pretty disastrous. Pushing through this town right now with their force size that they have, I'm not sure if that's the best decision here.
Ooh, rounds from landing really close to U.S. mortar.
Ooh.
The
Incoming
mortar.
mortars from U.S. They're hitting the previous location
We
of
lost
the
I'm
Russians.
taking
But the
hits.
Americans have
We're
just
making it
lost
up back
their
up.
mortar crew.
It's fine. It's fine. Just get in cover.
And Russian mortars are still suppressing it.
So Russian mortars actually managing to knock out the U.S. mortars.
Storm
That's
front,
huge,
send
actually.
CS.
Mortars
Yep.
now have initiative for the Russians, and it's going to be able to suppress the remaining forces on the castle. So this is a opportunity that Russia cannot give up. With their mortar strikes continually suppressing and pinning that squad on the castle, they need to maximize their force in the north.
At the
Yeah.
lodge, you need
I'm
to
worried that
send
the
them
U.S. flanking squad coming around the north are going to be too cautious. They're going to be too slow, and essentially the Russians will have stormed through the entire north village before the Americans in the back catch up. And when they do catch up, I'm worried that they're not going to have the advantage they have right now, catching the Russian assault in the rear, so to speak. They've been very slow approaching from that side.
Yeah, pacing here is going to be extremely important. However, choosing to go through the village here as Russians and clear every single one of these buildings is going to slow down Russia a lot. Perhaps even enough for that northern squad to sandwich this platoon. So Russians, I think, should have just kind of avoided this somehow. They don't have the forces to really clear this, and it's going to slow them down for that northern flank squad to come in from the rear. But we'll see if they're able to make it work. Those mortars still pinning the castle troops down.
2 Russians fell on the street there a few seconds ago, and rockets are still being fired at the MTLB, but once again, we've got a lucky MTLB deployed here today. This one's dodging rockets left, right, and center. Without even
the U.S.
moving.
infantry on the north is actually engaging the platoon barely. Might catch that one player that's lagging behind, but he's actually going to get away just in time. And Russia's actually keeping up the pressure. U.S. is pulling back now, so I mean it's looking all right for as bad of a spot that Russia was in. They're doing okay.
the northern element. We're falling back rocks.
Yeah, I think not to criticize, but I think the Americans attacking from the north now, flanking around, gave away their position by engaging at that distance. If I were them, I would have gone way closer. Also, the Russians seem to have employed a lot of, I wouldn't call them blind, but there's been a lot of moments where I've seen some pretty obvious contact that have somehow kind of slipped by. I think
Those
it's
mortars kill. Oh my God! Those mortars killed those 2 players.
by the mortar.
These
Oh,
mortars
no.
actually having great effect on the actual castle.
Carm, the castle is hardly defended. We're looking at 5 or 6 people alive in the castle area.
These mortars are actually chipping away here at the U.S. troops. If Russia can outpace that northern squad, they will be in a really good position.
Carm,
But that
look
means
at
they need to hurry up. Lat's actually coming behind the MTLB, and
Good
that's
shot.
one hit.
It's hit.
Get a second hit on it, soldier.
He's going the
Do they
wrong
have
way.
one?
I don't know if he has another lat. This MTLB has no idea where he got hit from.
Brandon burst into the water, trying to kill the fishes, but it's gonna drift around that road.
If this MTLB can actually pin down this entire northern squad while the remainder of the Russians push, that will also be huge. But if this lat soldier manages to take out this MTLB, that's bad news.
Oh, bushlat.
I don't know if he has another round. I think he's out of rounds.
Yeah, this is the squad that used one of the rounds to take out the MTLB by the road. Do you remember?
The driver just dismounts and takes out that lat. He
What
sees
a
him in the bush.
boss.
Dismounts and takes him
What
out.
an
Russia
absolute
actually
boss.
has Russia's turning it around pretty surprisingly here. This northern U.S. squad, like you said before, they are being too cautious. This northern U.S. Squad being too cautious, and they're getting really out of range of being effective here. But however, Russia's slowing down as well, coming through these buildings.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, Carm, the numbers right now, like minutes
It's
ago,
pretty even.
it looked
Yeah.
bad. Now it's starting to. The Russians are picking it up. This is
They're
where
picking it up.
Yeah, individual skill is coming into play here too. Like you switch on more to your own survival here a lot, and your own ability when there's less guns on the field.
Your priority is that south
And look, they're
entrance,
sending
alright?
3 Russians away to counterattack the North American northern flank here, or the U.S.
It
flank,
looks
rather.
like the U.S. actually sent a squad to take out the enemy mortars,
Ooh.
and they actually, or did they? I can't tell.
Well, can
Maybe
you see
not.
Any, can
Maybe
you see
not.
any
Maybe,
Americans routed, or?
Oh, I thought I did. Never mind. I thought they had sent a enemy squad to hit the mortars.
Yeah, there's
Ooh.
2 Russians by the mortars plus the mortar crew, so I think the Russians might actually be outnumbering the Americans right now.
That MTLB locking down that north squad, and they are split. This is bad now. This has completely switched. This is completely switched from U.S. initiative to now Russia. Russia actually separating that northern squad with the MTLB. They have turned, and now this northern squad is completely out of position to assist the castle defense. So Russia actually managing to turn the tables. I'm thoroughly impressed right now.
You sound happier already.
Yeah, it's
I'm happy.
It's pretty surprising how they completely moved it around.
Quick comments on what the Americans could have done different here in this situation?
That northern squad needed to have maximized their opening damage. They hit the MTLB once, but they needed to have engaged on the infantry as well. Simply hitting the MTLB was not enough. The MTLB just turned around and locked down that entire squad. So it's going to be, oh my god, that MTLB now picking up kills on this hill. It's getting dire for US. I am actually
Oh, we're about to see the
very
castle assault again, Carm.
Yep. Russians moving along that wall on the side. The MTLB fire superiority, pinning all of those northern guns, and Russia's using it. That's good
Mortars as
momentum.
well.
That's
Look at
good
the
aggression right
mortars.
now. That's perfect. This is exactly what Russia needs to do.
Oh, I see
using
a
those
casualty.
mortars and using the infantry.
We got a casualty by one of the barrier. What do you call that?
The cinder block?
The cinder
indirect
block.
fire block?
Yeah, the barricade
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we've got a casualty there as well. And look, we're seeing the same Spetsnaz tactic employed
Ooh.
by the troops last round. Oh, but he's going to be dropped. Goodbye. Well, now they know there's a trooper there. Russian about to throw a hand grenade here for focusing on the detail. That grenade's going to go up, it's going to go over the wall, and it's going to land on the other side. And unfortunately,
Russia
not doing
needs to
enough damage.
capitalize right now on their
Oh, they're storming,
on that
Carm.
northern squad being out of position. They are on the top platform.
Okay, good crossfire by the Americans. 2 Russians fall
Yeah,
as they...
shutting down that breach.
Wait. That is a
Oof.
trade that Russian shouldn't have lost,
Oh no.
but he did. MTLB coming into effect there. What happened? It had some downtime with no one firing. And now that northern squad is going to push in further, and 3 more Russians are going to cross the road with smoke cover to attack. I feel like it's been 2 for 1 here during the assault. The Russians had an upper hand. Now they only have... Now it's a 2v2 there on the top floor. Minus the HMG crew. Still crewing that 50 cal on the roof.
If anyone has a medic and they can run them over here.
This is getting really close. This is getting much closer. Oh, they actually killed that rifleman that was watching the east. They now have pressure on that northern approach.
Can he not see him
It's
sticking over the wall there?
insanely
No,
close.
he's covered.
Does anyone have a medic left?
Well, they know
Ooh,
they've got that.
MG.
Yeah. Did it knock both of the Russians down or one of them?
Knocked both of the Russians approaching the lower compound, but the Russians on the northern compound actually killed the American that was watching that eastern approach, and now they might be able to work that.
I'm getting tracer.
Okay, so this is super interesting because we have to remember the Russians still have the mortar crew and the mortar defenders back there to move up. Am I correct?
Yeah, numbers have really equalized at this point, and
got-
it's so surprising.
We've got 3 Americans moving in. What's left of the northern attack, they're moving in, and we have 2 and the MTLB plus 2 inside. So we're looking at it 5 on the ground right now in the castle and the MTLB. And I think, oh, good shooting there from the MTLB.
That MTLB really shining right now, doing insane amounts of damage here, and Russia actually has a real chance at bringing this back to a win.
Honestly, I'm
Oh my
surprised.
gosh.
What, is that another one down? Yes.
That's another one for the MTLB. This MTLB is just picking up kills left and right. And I think Russians actually outnumber U.S. defenders on this point.
Yeah, and we have one guy on the 50 covering the southern or eastern approach, which is dedication in its greatest example, because a lot of things are going on around him, but he is still pinning his gun there on the eastern approach, but there's no Russians near it.
Oh my gosh, Russians even breached the main tunnel entry right here and managed to kill that player. Good grenade goes over it just for good measure. And Russians now have control over the top compound.
Look, that 50 though.
Insane.
That 50 is going to be able to open up on the Russian as soon as he is exposed, if he can see him. Unfortunately, though, the U.S. construction of the sandbags is protecting him right now. He is shielded completely and invisible for that American soldier that just jumped out of the 50 covering the eastern approach. We've got a Russian inside now.
Yeah, this MTLB actually putting a lot of pressure on the Americans. Russians hopping on the US 50 cals to attempt to use them to wall bang certain
Fuck shit up.
areas.
In reality.
This has turned into one of the more exciting squad ops matches in literally a couple minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
it's funny how I said at the start, like, I don't think anything could top the other one, but this thing's a real emotional roller coaster.
The
it's a
execution
very
here at the end is
Yeah.
just... Oh, that MG gunner gets spotted. He's gonna get pinged at by the RPK. He actually hit him. He's got a... Oh,
Grenade
wait, no,
over?
that's a grenade. I thought it was
That's
a ban.
nice. Oh, they're trading.
grenades. Oh, that's a good grenade. And he gets him.
Oh, but that other one though. Oh no, it flew a
that's
little too
short.
far.
Oh my gosh, Russia really here just
Oh, look at the ones on the lower level though. They're being dropped. The two that crossed
they
last.
dismounted the MTLB. Oh no.
Out of ammo,
They must have been
perhaps?
out of ammunition.
Yeah.
And
But
Russia's got to hold off this counterattack from the north. It's only 3 U.S. troops. I think the entire castle itself is now... Wait, did that hit? Oh, that was close. That RPG was short. But there's just 3 U.S. troops on the north, 1 inside the compound itself, and about 4 to 5 Russians inside. They still have the mortar team, which I think is coming up now in the logic.
RPG away?
Yeah, there's 2... Oh!
Yeah, this is a very bipolar squad round.
This is an insanely close round. And then here comes the Logi with the two, with the command and his
What
2
a
IC coming in to
crazy dude,
reinforce.
man. Like, hey, that's a
Oh,
good.
that's actually 3 more troops
Oh,
for
man.
Russia right here in the south, and
But
Russia
hey.
now looking extremely strong.
What if the
3 Americans remaining?
What if the American would have still been on the 50, back by the sandbags? It's gone for some reason. I wonder if he like dug it up or something. I don't know what happened. It
I think
disappeared.
the mortars might have removed
yeah.
it. Oh no, they dug up the fob itself, so all the
Oh.
HMG emplacements disappeared.
That would have been so nice to have to open up at the guys approaching. That would have been devastating. But they're securing it right now. We're looking at a situation that simply is we've got 3 surviving Americans, 1 inside the castle, 2 outside, and we have a total of 4, 5, 6, 7 Russians inside the castle. It's a correction. We have a total of 5. We have a total of 9.
Oh, here comes another
Russians.
RPG.
Come on, put it on target, baby.
Oh, it's
what a
both of them.
wonderful
Oh,
shot.
God. Now it's just 1 U.S. soldier remaining, and he's in the castle right now. That was an amazing last shot. Russia really surprising me.
Yeah.
Totally and completely.
What a fucking bunch of dummies at a start, man. That was some sad shit. But
Oh my
they're
God,
pulling it back.
redeeming themselves.
Oh,
Holy
oh,
crap.
Oh, look at this guy though. Saw Gunner is gonna make a final stand here. That guy's gonna take the shortcut down the stairs.
And he goes down. Oh my God, what a comeback. Holy crap. What a freaking comeback. by the
eight Russians survive,
Oh my God.
which is almost a fourth of the team.
That was insane.
insane.
That was thoroughly impressive. I'm thoroughly, that was a great round of squad ops. That was amazing.
This was a great match. The both rounds in combination were just fantastic.
Holy crap.
That was some amazing entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this time.
Yeah.
Be sure to, from my point of view, though, be sure to check out Karmakut's channel. There's going to be a link in the description box below.
Yeah, we got both POVs done, mine and Diplex's, so check them both out. They're definitely... Oh, God, those 2 rounds are just mind-blowing. I'm still in
Crazy.
awe.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I didn't think anything could top the first round, but the second one did. Honestly, I was like, nah, come on, it's going to be a short round. I hate when the second round is short, when it's too short. You know that they've thrown all the cards early on, and I thought they had. I could have bet, the Americans are going to win this. And yet they just maybe the Americans got a little careless, after the huge success early on. I don't know. Good stuff.
Good stuff.